Hi, my name's Melissa with Mom Belly Fitness, and I have my friend Jackie here today. She's a nursing and pumping mom, and she asked me for some tips and help with what she can do during her pumping sessions to take advantage of the time to help improve her nursing posture. She noticed nursing and pumping was starting to put her in that rounded posture, and she realized when she's pumping, she's kind of just sitting there, and she thought, what can I do to take advantage of this time and help start to reverse some of that unwanted, uncomfortable posture?
So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to turn the pump on. This is real life, real pumping.
So it might be a little loud.
You might have to hear the pump, and that is what it is. We wanted to make sure that these exercises were really conducive to having a pump on. As we all know, pumps are finicky, so we might get some fun fart noises, and we'll find out.
So one of the things that we want to pay attention to first off is our posture when we're pumping. And if you're sitting in a really high chair, such as this one, it's going to either make you go into a slouched position, or if you're sitting close to the edge, you might notice your pelvis is really starting to dump forward. So think about placing some books or blocks, something that can prop your feet up and put your pelvis in a more neutral position. How does that feel? A little better? Yeah. So, and if you're going to be doing some kind of movement or exercise when you're sitting down pumping, think about sitting towards that front half of your chair so you have room to move. And then that's going to allow you to mobilize and move the pelvis, placing it in a more neutral, happy position in line with the ribs. The next thing we can start thinking about is activating what are our pulling muscles to start taking you from this to a more open position. And when you move round, forward, and back, how does that feel on the actual pump in the heart? Okay. So some things we can start doing are, I'll have you hold this for a second.
Yeah.
You can maybe put it towards my mouth. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so one thing that I can have Jackie do is literally just take her arms like this, like she's holding some dinner plates, and open and close her palms, or rather swing her palms out and in to start to bring her elbows in towards her rib cage so she can feel her lats and her shoulder blades start to activate. So why don't you try that? And she should feel a bit of a squeeze between her shoulder blades, which is going to start activating the muscles that pull us into a more upright position. You feel that?
Yeah.
So I would say with all of these exercises, we can aim to do 10 to 12 during a pump session, and you can cycle through a few of your favorites. So that's one. Another thing we can do, if you have a resistance band or a towel or like a stretchy belt, anything that has just a little bit of pull on it, I'm gonna have you hold this one more time, is you can take a resistance band or even just a straight pull if it helps, where you can, like a broomstick, and you can take it above your head and pull it down and up, bringing it up and over. So even a broomstick would be fine just to get the movement in the shoulders, to reset the shoulder blades and to calm down the lats. So why don't you go ahead and try that. You can either double it up or single it up if you're using a band, or with your pull. Like I said, just the motion itself is going to be helpful.
Yeah, most people would have a broomstick in their work or something to that effect. Because we know a lot of people are going to be pumping at work.
Yeah.
Because if you're pumping at home in the middle of the night, you're maybe not going to be wanting to do this exercise.
Yeah. This isn't the middle of the night thing. And then also be mindful. You're pumping for a reason. You're pumping to give your baby nutrients. So don't think every single pump session this is something you have to do. You know, listen to your body, listen to how you feel. If you're having a day where you're just like, ugh, I feel stuck, I feel my back is killing me, this might be a helpful thing to give you some nutritious movement to improve those, to improve how you're feeling, to improve the flow of your milk, as Jackie was saying.
Yep.
Speaking of which, she mentioned getting movement, more blood flow, and pumping the lymph, or getting the lymph to flow so you have better milk flow. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
The other part of that, by moving our myofascia, we're going to improve and get that lymph flow. So what about some fascia movements we can do as well?
Sure.
All right, so here's a fascia flossing move you can do. So Jackie had mentioned getting more blood flow to the breast tissue for better milk flow, but also getting the lymph out, right? We want to pump it away from the breast. So something we can do to get the lymph moving is working on the myofascia. And I like to do something called fascia flossing, also known as resistance stretching, to actually target the myofascia itself. So if we target the areas around the breast to get that myofascia moving, get the lymph flowing, you'll have a better chance to get the lymph flowing, I should say. So one of my favorite fascia flossing moves for that kind of upper trap shoulder area, which, think about all the times your neck is feeling strained from either being rounded or just being stressed out. This is going to help soften and reduce the tension in the neck, but also get the lymph flowing under the armpit and the surrounding area by targeting the myofascia. So this fascia flossing move, you might want to be up against the back of your chair. So I'm going to have her scoot back, and actually, if you're flexible enough, comfortable enough, you can also lift a knee. Totally not required if you have like a wall or something behind you. You're going to want to, and a brief sidebar, fascia flossing is strength plus length. So you want to engage the muscle in a shortened position plus adding length. We'll go through it in a little more of an a little more detail so it's easier to understand. So I'm going to have Jackie lift up her knees, so she's kind of almost in a half squat, right? We're going to place the elbow to the inner thigh and drive the elbow in. As we're doing that, I'm also kind of plugging the hand backwards, and that's going to you're going to feel an engagement in the upper shoulder, the trap area. Do you feel that, Jackie? Mm-hmm. So when you press your arm into it, you should feel engagement, like I said, in the upper trap, almost in the base of the neck. Keep that engagement, and while you're engaging, you're going to take your other hand, and you're going to plug down to add stretch. I don't know if you could hear me. So she's engaging this way to engage here, or plugging this way to engage the upper trap and shoulder, and she's using her other hand to crank down. And I almost kind of like to dip my nose away, and that's going to release any tightness and tension in that area. That's good. So which is really going to help you open up. So when we have tight restricted fascia, we are it's almost like we're saran wrapped into that position. We're opening the fascia, creating more blood flow, creating more space in the body, pumping the lymph, kind of feeling more open, and it's easier to restack your posture. So I use fascia flossing with a lot of my moms to help us reset that posture, but also just to create that space. How does that feel?
Great.
And then when you do it on one side, do the same thing on the other. So about 8 to 10, 10 to 15 reps, whatever feels good. Making sure during the fascia work, making sure you're not going to the edge of a movement. So be mindful with how far your range is going. So stay short in your range at first and then kind of grow from there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So after this one, we're going to do another fascia floss, more to open the chest a little, but I want to see what that'll feel like while you're pumping and see if that's a possible one to do.
Sure. Let's do it.
So the next fascia floss we're going to do is going to help us open that chest a little bit and start again. Once again, we're going from this posture to opening. When we are in this posture, our muscles kind of become locked short. They need help opening back up and elongating. So we're going to work on some fascia to help us free that up. So this one you can do at a kitchen counter. You could do it at a desk. I'm going to have her do it on the back of this chair. But anywhere you can, rest your forearm to the chair. I'm going to have her put her elbow down too. Yep. And so what she's going to do is she's going to plug down through that arm. Her shoulder's almost her elbow, is in line with her shoulder here. I'd step away just a hair from the chair. That way you have a little bit more room to move. Sure. So she's going to plug down. That's going to help her engage the chest. You want to keep that engagement, and then she's just going to dip down through her chest, not going too far into the shoulder head, so she feels a nice stretch. And to take this one a little further, I'm going to have her turn her nose slightly away while she's moving. Do you feel that opening of the chest? Mm-hmm. So the key is always engaging first to make this a little bit safer so we're not going into the shoulder head, but also that's what's going to target the fascia. So we always want to engage if we're specifically working the fascia. And then once you do one side, you do the other. You can also do this like at a doorway, standing upright. And then if you're worried about the flanges falling off, Jackie, is that ever a concern? I know you've got heaviness of the milk, but...
Yeah. So I'm doing this just fine, and I have a decent amount of milk in there, actually a fairly unrealistic amount of milk. I specifically saved my pump so that we would be nice and full to give it a good test. So if you don't get this much milk, don't feel bad about it. And then, so these are staying on just fine for me, so I think it's pretty doable. If you find yourself in a position where you're having trouble getting them to stay on maybe, or you don't feel like they're the right size, the ones that come with your pump are never the right size. That's a lie. 1% of the time they're the right size. So you can always come to us if you feel like you want to try different flange sizes, we also have different shapes. There's some that are more conical and some that are more kind of cratered, I guess is a good way to say it, and stuff. So all breasts are different shapes and sizes, and so we have come a long way in the pumping world with flange sizes and types.
So not only do we want to improve the myofascia that's surrounding the chest, shoulders, and back to improve that posture, we also want to strengthen the muscles that keep us upright, like our pulling muscles. So think shoulder blades, scapula, lats, and something we can utilize when we're pumping if you're connected to a pump and not using the tubeless pump. Wearable pump. I don't pump anymore. Everything's changed since I pumped. Is you can actually, you grab, if you have a pump like this that's easier to grab, you can perform a simple row, bent over row. So you can utilize the back of your chair to help with balance if you need it. You don't have to if you don't have that available. And you're just going to simply hinge at the hip. Let me come back here. There we go. So you're going to, the first thing you want to think about is hinging at the hip, pressing down through your heel to load your glute. Then you want to think about bracing your core. Think close, lift, wrap. So we have a nice solid brace to protect our low back. Then as you go to row your pump, you want to think about pulling first with the shoulder blade and lat before the elbow moves. And once again, you can do 8 to 12 or 10 to 15 rows on each side just to start strengthening and waking up those pulling muscles. How does that feel?
That feels good.
So if you're doing that and you start to just feel like the bicep, the tricep, I want you to actually start to really think about your shoulder blades. Remember that first move we did, moving the hands out, opening the scapula? That's going to help start to connect to that scapula a little more. You can literally have someone come stand behind you, maybe a spouse, and touch your shoulder blade. Get that shoulder blade on so that you can pull with the right muscles. All right, after you do one arm, you'd obviously do the other arm to even things out. Another thing, go ahead and even yourself out. But really pay attention to make sure you're not holding your breath here. Make sure you've got that core engagement. Every time you exhale, you're going to close, lift, and wrap that core. And if you notice you have a hard time connecting to the pelvic floor, a lot of you might still be in the early phases of postpartum and pumping and breastfeeding. And so your core and your pelvic floor might still be really disconnected after birth. That's going to be something you're going to want to maybe have assessed at some point. If you're having a hard time connecting to your core and pelvic floor, I do pelvic floor and core assessments and can help you make that mind-body connection again so that we don't fall into patterns that are going to put us in pelvic floor dysfunction down the line. So if we're breath holding or if we're exhaling incorrect, meaning we're not using the abdominals when we exhale or we're not using the pelvic floor when we exhale, that's going to put us into problems down the line. Incontinence, low back pain. So reach out for a consultation on your core and pelvic floor to make sure everything's reconnecting the right way. Okay. Once again, we want to really start to think about reconnecting to those pulling muscles in the back body, that mid-back, the space between the shoulder blades and the lats. So something we can do to start waking those up more and improving that connection is you can take, if you're at work and you don't have a ball, I assume you don't have a ball with you at work. If you're at home, maybe you work from home, you have a kid's toy ball, something soft that you can use. You can also roll up a jacket or a sweatshirt. Jackie had mentioned maybe even a pump bag. If you have a high back, you're going to want a high back chair for this one, but you're going to place your ball, sweatshirt, whatever you have between your shoulder blades on the back of your chair so you can feel the contact, feel the shoulder blades making contact with the ball, feel your body leaning into it. And then you're just going to take your hands by your side, palms up, and you're going to just start to gently squeeze between the shoulder blades, feeling the blades pressing into the ball. Oh,
hang on, we need a little more.
All right, we need a little more slack. Make sure you got some slack on your pump. And Jackie, how does that feel? Do you feel the engagement?
So good.
It's undoing some of that. When we're in our rounded posture, I mentioned the chest muscles become kind of locked short, meaning they're craving length. The opposite of that, the back muscles, they're kind of locked long, meaning they're craving activation and strengthening. This is going to provide them with some of that strengthening, that activation, again, bringing us to that more upright, even posture. It's going to help you also create more space in the rib cage so you can breathe better with your diaphragm so you're not in your upper traps. And to improve this, I mentioned the exhale connecting to the core and pelvic floor. Every time you squeeze and engage, think about exhaling and closing, lifting that core and or that pelvic floor and core. And that's going to start to repattern that breathing, start to rehab that core, after giving birth, after growing a baby. We want to start to reconnect those muscles as well.
Good deep breathing also. Deep breathing can also help oxytocin release and help that milk ejection reflex and let down happen.
Yeah. So if I guess in a way I would look at this as if we're in that sympathetic, stressed out state, we're not going to produce milk as efficiently. Is that
Yeah, pretty much.
So
we need oxytocin to make milk.
So when we're in that more parasympathetic state, or when we're breathing more with our diaphragm and less with our upper traps and shoulders, it's going to be a better environment for producing milk, but also for calming your stress levels. And the other thing I'll note is, Jackie, when you're doing this, do you feel this in your upper traps, or do you feel it more in the mid-back?
If I remember to breathe, with it, it definitely stays more in my lats and less in my traps.
Yeah, so the point I want to make with this is, if you are someone who's stress breathing all day, which think of us as moms who are stressed out all day, we're panting, we're breathing, we're upregulating our breathing, we're not opening the ribs, calming our breathing in that more parasympathetic state, we're going to be more in our upper traps. And this is going to travel to your upper traps if you're just locked up there. So by focusing on breathing, calming the nervous system, slowing it down, slowing yourself down, you're going to be more likely to connect with the shoulder blades here. All right, I bet you're getting fatigued back there. So if you have a towel or belt or I'm sure at work you'll
Kids'
have
leggings,
anything that you can grab. I'm going to use a band for this. I'm going to have Jackie place this behind her mid-back, or behind her back. The hand on top is going to be just above the head. The other hand more mid-back.
Trying to trace you with it.
We want to look at realigning the shoulders. So what I'm going to have Jackie do here is gently tug in opposite directions. The hand on top is going to go up. The hand on the bottom is going to go down. Very gentle tug on whatever it is that you're using to start to reset that engagement, reset the alignment of the shoulders, and also get a nice little stretch in that tricep and that almost the serratus area. So go ahead and try that. And this is one that you don't necessarily have to do a bunch of reps. I'd say maybe more. There it is. There it is.
I don't know how that was going to work.
Okay, so this is my nut. Let's see.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, it just needed a minute. Okay. So for this one, you can be very gentle with movement. It doesn't have to be a big movement. It's more, I would think more of breathing with it and just seeing even maybe small pauses and holds, if that helps. If the movement feels better, go for the movement. But you can kind of play around with this one. It doesn't have to be a bunch of, 1, 2, 3 kind of reps. It's more of maybe hold that stretch for 2 to 3 seconds.
Ooh, shaky.
I see that. And if this is a resistance band, you're going to get different range. If you just had like a towel, you're just going to probably want to do more of that gentle pull and hold and breathe. And when you're breathing here, think about, what are the upper traps doing? Are they trying to creep up to the ears? We want to get those traps to relax, the shoulder to pull slightly away from the ear. Now, I know you have different range on each side. Yeah. Is this side harder? Yeah. So this is when it feels difficult. You feel like you have to shrug. This is a good time to really pay attention, be mindful of what it is you're doing, getting that shoulder blade to sit back and down. How's that one?
Good. I was like, you've got a good point here. So we know that my shoulders, Melissa knows this about me, my shoulders are very uneven. But this is a good point to mention. I get asked all the time at work that we're like, one of my breasts makes way more milk than the other one. And I just am here to say that that's totally normal. I was like, I'm pretty sure mine are pretty uneven. So,
my right is a slacker always.
Let's see. My left one is the super boob. So totally normal to have a super boob and a slacker boob.
Okay. So another one we can do, again, we want to engage and activate our pulling muscles to pull us upright. If you don't have a band, don't worry about this one. A stretchy towel might work for this one if you can have someone hold it for you. If you have a band or something, you can anchor to a doorknob, a pole, a door, something that's going to keep it secure. You can do this one sitting or standing. This is just a seated row. We'll go ahead and start with some pulls. Again, starting with the shoulder blade first. How does that tension feel? Do you want more or less?
Probably further away, maybe?
Take me further away?
Yeah,
okay.
You go. Yep.
Okay. So, again, starting with the shoulder blade as she pulls, feeling that movement of the shoulder blade, feeling the lat engage. Then the elbow goes. That's part one. The other thing to help you improve this is, once again, to think about using that exhale breath as you pull to trigger the core activation. So yeah, every time that she exhales, she's going to close and lift her pelvic floor, wrap her core. That's just going to make the pull stronger, but it's also going to pull you into a better posture. If that makes sense.
Do my biceps look good?
Yeah. Now, the biceps are involved. The shoulder blades should be more involved. But it's all involved. And then also we want to make sure we're not shrugging up that shoulder, keeping that shoulder back and down. So this is something you can do single arm, and then you want to do the same reps on the other side. Or if you have someone holding the band, they can grab, and you have handles, or whatever you have, a yoga band, you can do both arms at the same time. It doesn't have to be single arm.
Every time I remember to breathe, I feel all let down.
Oh, really? Yeah.
All right. Breathing. We're supposed to do that.
Breathing is important. Breathing helps us move better. We're all stressed in our traps all day, breathing up to our ears, and that pulls us forward. Okay, cool. So that's another one. So after your pumping session, if you did all those exercises and you have time, it might be a good idea to relax and recover those, or rest and recover those. I know that's not ideal. We don't always have the time for that. If you do, it might be a good idea to open and rest and recover. And if you didn't do all the exercises, it still might be a good idea, if you have the time, to reverse this just heavy posture that we're all feeling. So to do that, once Jackie's done pumping, I'd recommend grabbing a few tools like some pillows. And again, if you're at work, you might not have this. You could, again, bunch up a sweatshirt and just place it under your back. But I'm going to have her actually lay on the floor on her back.
Okay.
Or
Taking
a
the
couch.
pump
Or
off?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to take the pump off.
Hard to do without showing them.
And this is going to promote relaxation and recovery of the muscles. When you use your muscles, they need recovery. They need restoration, especially if you've been pregnant and went through that pregnancy where that your posture is becoming uneven, and then you went through a birth and you're in postpartum recovery and the muscles aren't being worked. Once you do start working them again, they're going to fatigue quickly. So we want to take time to rest and recover if we can. If you can't right after your nursing session, maybe another time later in the day. If you're doing tummy time with your little one, lay on your back and have them lay on your tummy so you can feel that reversal of opening that. I don't know, my words aren't here today.
That's okay.
But you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll actually have you get that chair a little bit more out of the way just so we have enough room. Thank you. Okay, so one thing you can do if you have a long foam roller, we're going to start with this and then we're going to work our way down. Let's place it this way.
Okay.
Go this way. From tailbone to your head. You want the whole thing supported. If you have a foam roller that doesn't support all of that, grab some pillows to support the head. But you got your clip on. I hope that feels okay. So tailbone supported, head supported. The next thing, if you have pillows, you're going to want to place them under your arms so you're not pulling too much on the shoulders. And palms up, again, to promote that posture. When our palms are forward, we can connect better to the shoulder blades. That puts us in that more neutral position. How's that feel?
Good. It's squeezing my shoulder blades too.
Yeah, you can even, if you get feedback from the foam roller, you can get a little bit of squeeze going, reconnect. But I'd lay like this 5 to 10, 5 to 20 minutes. Know who has 20 minutes. It's going to calm the nervous system down. It's going to promote better lactation. It's going to calm your stress down, bring you into a more relaxed state, help you breathe a little better.
It's going to put you into nap mode.
It's going to put you into a nap mode. That's for sure. Yeah. I've definitely fallen asleep in this position many times. If you don't have a fancy foam roller, if you have a yoga mat, you can also lay on a yoga mat, place a pillow under your head, because I'm going to guess the yoga mat's not going to be long enough. Rolled up yoga mat. In fact, stand by. I've got one right here. If you don't have the foam roller, you can also do this on a rolled up yoga mat. And I've got another pillow for you here. So you want to make sure your head and tailbone are supported. This is going to be a softer introduction to this. In fact, some people, this might be too hard for some people. So a rolled up yoga mat might be perfectly fine. And you don't even need the pillows with this one. Yeah. They're probably a little too high, actually. So same thing. You just rest and recover. And also keep in mind turning off the core and pelvic floor, turning off any of the muscles you just worked, giving them a chance to reset, recover. And then if you don't have any of these tools, you can roll up some towels, a sweatshirt, anything you can do to reset that spine. You can even place a ball under the mid-back.
You can ask your partner to give you a foot rub.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You get some fascia flossing done, some stretches. But yeah, just taking time to turn it all down.
Perfect.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
How does your posture feel?
Feels good.
All right, cool. Jackie is an IBCLC at Ashley Benz Lactation. Can you tell us what that stands for?
It stands for International Board Certified Lactation Consultant, which is a really snooty long title. But basically, we can help with any of your breastfeeding, pumping, feeding needs, really, over there if you have that. And then if you're here, you probably have already found Melissa, but I have used her personally, and her fascia stuff has been a real game changer for me. So I hope you utilize her services, or at least use this video, because we spent a couple hours while our kids were stuck at home with doing NTI, coming up with this stuff for you. Woo!
Yeah, if you have any low back pain, pelvic floor discomfort, trouble connecting to your core, trouble connecting to any of the muscles we talked about today, or want any help on your perinatal journey from preconception through birth and beyond, reach out and let's set up a consultation and figure out what you might need, or we'll get you set up with Jackie and her team. All right, thanks for watching.